I'm pleased to welcome you back to our weekly episode of the Flourishing Fridays podcast here on eRadio SA, where today's chat with Julia Tew of the Circular Stage promises to be more like an adventure to find out about the wonderful world of fungi. Over to you, Julia. Hello.
Thanks, Ian. Hi. Yes, I guess what I have is not so much a fungal infection, thankfully, as a fungal addiction. I am a massive fan of all things fungi related, as you are soon to discover. And so I am super excited to share some of this passion and excitement with your eRadio listeners today, because the world seems to be finally waking up to just how versatile and sustainable and incredible these little organisms are, which is evident in the rapidly growing number of ways in which fantastic fungi are being used to impact and improve our lives today and in the future. I mean, did you know, Ian, that NASA is looking at one day growing homes out of fungi on the moon and Mars for its space explorers to live in? Yeah?
I didn't know. Wow.
You do not get more futuristic than that, do you?
Yeah.
But as much as fungi seem to be part of our future, they also play a critical role in our past. So sit back while I tell you a little story. And it's a true story. So imagine Earth almost 500 million years ago, empty, rocky, and barren, with life confined to the water. Tiny green rootless plants clung to the shallows, reaching towards sunlight, but unable to survive the harshness of dry land. Yet on the edge of these early shores, they encountered a potential ally, fungi. Fungi had already adapted to challenging environments, using their thread-like hyphae to break down rocks and draw water and nutrients from the soil. But they lacked the ability to photosynthesize. They didn't have chlorophyll. They offered the plants an exchange, access to nutrients and water in return for a share of the plant's energy derived from the sunlight. Thus, a silent partnership was born. The fungi became the plant's roots, extending into the rocky earth, creating pathways for water and minerals. And together they ventured beyond the water's edge, turning barren landscapes into the very first green ecosystems on this planet. Over eons and eons, as plants evolved with stronger roots and larger leaves, fungi followed, building a vast underground network of mycelium that held soil, connected plants, and even allowed trees to share information and resources. From this ancient partnership came Earth's first forests and fields, habitats for countless new species. And today, fungi remain Earth's hidden architects, sustaining ecosystems everywhere. The story of life on land is, at its heart, a story of the bond between plants and fungi, an alliance that continues to thrive just below our feet. And so the next time, Ian, you see a tree or you smell the damp earth of a forest floor, remember it all began with fungi, who took those first brave steps with the plants, lifting life from water to land and never letting go. How cool is that story, Ian? Did you know all of that about fungi?
I honestly didn't, Julia. And wow, you just paint the picture so beautifully. I must say, you do have a way with words. You almost took me out of reality now. You transported me into some other world. But yes, what a beautiful story. I honestly didn't know all this about fungi. Why not? I don't know why.
Wait, there's more to come. There's more to come. In fact, here's another amazing factoid you probably didn't know, Jan. Fungi are actually more closely related to us animals than they are related to plants, because we share a common ancestor in the form of something called an opisthocont, which is actually a tiny cell with a little whip-like tail at its end, much like a human sperm. And so we are actually cousins with the mushies, believe it or not. Anyways, when it comes to our human need or desire for flourishing in today's rather complicated and troubled world, it turns out we can still look to the fabulous kingdom of fungi to deliver an extraordinary selection of solutions linked to resilience, well-being, sustainability, and even regeneration. I'm just going to touch on a few of the products, the companies, the researchers, the startups that are leading the way. So let's start in one of my favorite focus areas, food. Did you know, Eon, that without fungi, we would not have bread, chocolate, cheese, soy sauce, beer, or wine? How sad would that be?
Oh, very, very sad. Tragic.
Tragic. So let's just take a moment to appreciate that fungi are responsible for all our favorite foods and for most of our processed materials. Thank you, fungi. We love you lots.
Thank you, yeah.
Thank you. But global demand for food is actually expected to nearly double by 2050, at which point our world population could have reached 9.8 billion. And that is not the only thing rising. So are global concerns about the environmental and social impacts of our heavily animal-based diets. Raising all the animals we eat, how the animals are treated, how much land, food, and water they use, and the human health consequences of diets too rich in animal products. And one of the solutions to providing food security in this context is the development of something called alternative proteins or alternative foods. And according to the World Economic Forum, alternative proteins have actually morphed over the past few years from a niche product into a mainstream phenomenon. Plant-based foods are now the norm at many fast food and gourmet restaurants around the world. Beyond Burger, anyone? And plant-based milks are a staple in most of your coffee shops and households today, even in my house. So the World Economic Forum predicts that by 2035, alternative proteins will make up 11% of the overall protein market, which amounts to roughly $290 billion in value. That's a lot. And what's more, with a shift to plant-based meat and eggs alone, the world could already save 1 billion tons of carbon emissions in the next 10 years. That's about the same as Japan going carbon neutral tomorrow for an entire year. So what do fungi have to do with all this? Well, it turns out that fungi are an ideal ingredient in making alternative proteins. And many companies around the world have cottoned onto this. These include Mycotechnology in the US and Corn in the UK, who create vegan-friendly plant-based products using fungus-derived ingredients as the base for their protein. In Kenya, we have the startup Myco Foods. You'll see the word myco popping up everywhere because myco means mushroom or fungus. So Kenyan startup Myco Foods is creating protein-rich mushroom-based foods for low-income communities, and they're focusing on training local entrepreneurs to grow mushrooms that are resilient to local climate conditions, which I think is really important. And here in South Africa, the Mushroom Guru, which is based in Cape Town, is doing similar things, not only conducting and teaching mushroom cultivation, but also running community upliftment programs that teach people to grow mushrooms as a source of affordable and sustainable protein while addressing local food security issues. And what about the soil that we're growing all our food and our crops in? Well, fungi are playing a role there too. across Africa, there is research being done on soil health, which is really, really important, and how fungi can act as biofertilizers and natural pesticides. This is hugely in line with the push towards regenerative agriculture across Africa, where enhancing soil microbiomes is really important if you're wanting to conduct sustainable farming in our dry and degraded soils without having to use harmful chemicals. So, moving on, the next stop on our little expedition is the world of fashion. And I have to ask, are you a fan of leather, Ian? Say leather jackets or leather belts or leather boots?
They look pretty. I won't say I'm a massive fan, but I don't mind a nice leather jacket or maybe a nice leather belt. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if you know, but fungi are also being embraced by fashion designers wanting to move away from animal-based materials for manufacturing clothing. So traditional leather production requires over 7,000 liters of water per cow hide and contributes significantly to methane emissions and typically involves chrome tanning processes that produce hazardous waste. So these are all the challenges with normal leather production. So California seems to be a hotspot for this new trend where we find companies like MycoWorks producing a leather alternative that they have called reishi, and it delivers the strength, durability, and hand feel of the finest animal leathers, but with a lower environmental impact. And its unique composition also allows for surface treatments like dyeing and embossing and varnishing. So you get the same benefits at the end of the day. And it achieves all of this while remaining biodegradable. And also in California, a company called Bolt Threads uses indoor vertical farms to produce the fungi they need to produce Milo, which is their mycelium-based leather alternative. And these biomaterials are already being used in high fashion, including brands like Adidas and Stella McCartney. So look out, you might start seeing them in your neck of the woods.
Wow.
Now, let's take a quick peek at some of the other sectors that are loving mushrooms and fungi. And these two in particular tend to have a very large carbon and environmental footprint. They are packaging and construction. So here in South Africa, Fungi Tech is a Cape Town-based startup developing biodegradable, mycelium-based packaging that can replace single-use plastics in industries such as food and retail. And in New York, a company called Ecovative Design is growing mycelium-based packaging as an alternative to styrofoam. So soon, hopefully, we won't have to deal with single-use plastics. But what about all the waste and the plastic pollution that we're currently dealing with, thanks to littering and accidents like oil spills? Well, several research studies have shown that some fungi can actually break down pollutants, including plastics and other petroleum products, in a process called, and you'll probably guess it, mycoremediation. So Paul Stamets, who's one of the world's best-known mycologists, has demonstrated that the oyster mushroom can actually break down diesel and other hydrocarbons.
Wow.
And another study published earlier this year shows that fungi, in particular their mycelium networks, are emerging as key allies in breaking down some of our most commonly used plastic polymers like PET, HDPE, LDPE. People in the plastics or packaging industry will know these materials, PVC, PP, and nylon. So that's a lot of plastics we could tackle using mycoremediation. And then there's the Zambian company that's using mycoremediation to remove hazardous heavy metals from lands polluted by mining activities. So will these blessings never end? But no, we're not done. There's more. Moving to the construction industry, which actually contributes around 39% of the global carbon footprint. Yes, 39%. That's massive. We are finding mycelium-based building materials, surprise, surprise, being developed all over the world, but even in countries like Senegal. And they're helping to deliver affordable housing solutions with sustainable, locally sourced materials that are also biodegradable and offer good fire, thermal, and acoustic insulation. In the UK as well, there's a company called Biome that's produced insulation panels using mycelium, and these help reduce heating costs and energy use. The production process used to create these kind of things is usually pretty circular. They tend to use agricultural waste to feed the mushrooms, to feed the fungi, and then transform the mycelium into versatile and lightweight forms like bricks and panels and blocks. So that is the construction industry. Would you ever consider building a house using bricks made from mushrooms, Ian?
After today, yes, absolutely. When are we going to get to that advanced stage here in South Africa? When do you think, Julia?
You know what? You probably find that there are already companies working on it and prototyping it. I will find out more about it and I will let you know, because I bet you that someone somewhere has started building something. I know hemp is certainly one that's being used a lot. There's I think a whole hotel in Cape Town that's being built using hemp, but that's a story for another time. We're talking about mushrooms and fungi.
Would you build your house of fungi?
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, I think you obviously have to look at the pros and the cons. So the one thing that mycelium bricks aren't as strong in is bearing weight, like say a brick made out of normal concrete or baked materials. So you do have to make sure that you're using the right bricks for the right applications.
Yeah.
You can't just use mycelium bricks for absolutely anything. But I think the time will come when we figure out how to get around that.
Yeah, don't go building a high rise or something yet.
Not just yet. No, I think there's still, maybe we can mix them with hemp and get it slightly stronger. I don't know. But I know that this is in the back of your mind, and so I'm getting to the part that you might be most intrigued about, Ian, and that is covering the term magic mushrooms. No exploration of fungi would be complete unless we discussed this concept of what people call magic mushrooms, which can have many different understandings, but what's happening these days is that numerous clinical trials have been conducted and are showing promising results in treating conditions like depression, anxiety, and PTSD, so post-traumatic stress disorder, using psilocybin, which is the active compound found in magic mushrooms. And that's the part that has the naturally occurring psychoactive and hallucinogenic components. So there's and I think the question there is, will it be legalized? Because in many parts of the world, psilocybin is still illegal. But from a generally healthcare perspective, the University of Cape Town, their Department of Pharmacology, has got ongoing research taking place where they are exploring medicinal fungi, including the potential for South African indigenous fungi to address things like neurological conditions and also help with treating stress and anxiety disorders. And as you probably know, you can't go down an aisle at Dis-Chem these days without seeing hundreds and hundreds of health supplements. And amongst those, you'll see ones like lion's mane mushroom, which is actually a favorite in our household. And this edible fungus is being studied for its potential to improve cognitive health and potentially protect against Alzheimer's. So for those of us with not very good memories, that's a good one to take every day.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Great for memory and keeping the brain fresh. But there are other mushroom supplements, as you'll see, and they make all sorts of promises to help things like increase your energy, improve your muscle recovery, and also boost your immune system. So they are just like a panacea, a cure for all ills. And we can't leave out the beauty industry, can we? Mushrooms are also making headlines in the cosmetics industry because many of them have got high antioxidant properties. They also have sort of hydrating, water capturing properties, and many of them are rich in vitamin D. So when you include them in skincare formulations, they can do things like help reduce inflammation and promote healthy, glowing skin. And I mean, there are other mushrooms with active ingredients that are apparently so potent. They are being researched for their potential use in antibiotics and even cancer treatment. So it just seems that the applications are endless, much like my podcast today. So there you have it, Jan. Our fungi friends and cousins are helping pave the way for a healthier, cleaner, kinder, and more sustainable future. Do you think you will ever view mushrooms in the same light again, Jan?
Definitely not, Julia. After today, you've changed a lot. Even in the supermarket, I'll look at them differently.
Good. Mushroom pasta
Wow.
for supper tonight.
Yeah. This was incredibly interesting, hey? I mean, wow, what a magical world.
It is. It is truly magical. And you know what? Every day news stories are hitting the news, but certainly in my circles, about new applications that are being discovered. And they truly are remarkable. I'm really excited about it. And I've got a bunch of books as well that I've read. So if anyone's interested to learn more and really dig deep, excuse the pun, into mushrooms and mycelium or whatnot, I can recommend some excellent books. So just drop us a line here at eRadio.
Now, this was very interesting, Julia. I mean, who'd have thought mushrooms? Wow. This is it's a very, very, it's almost like opening a book and then discovering this whole new world inside that you always saw the book, but you never realized how magical it actually is unless you read it, you know?
And some of them are exquisite. As you can imagine, I follow a couple of groups on Facebook, and it's mainly for photographers of mushrooms, and they take the most exquisite photos and post them up, from the tiniest little things that you need a magnifying glass to see, to enormous mushrooms that take, a man 2 arms to hold. And truly the diversity is astounding. So if you're interested, you'll find you'll get drawn in just like me and develop a fungal addiction, and hopefully not a fungal infection.
Yeah, as long as it's not the infection.
Well, I'm sure there's a mushroom for that, so it's okay.
I think it's time for a forest walk, Julia.
Yes, okay, definitely. Invite me and I'll be there.
Okay, yeah, we must do a forest walk. I mean, wow, it's so interesting, so fascinating. Thank you so much, Julia. That was another very interesting edition of Fantastic Fungi on Flourishing Fridays. Loving the F's there. F.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Fantastic. There's another one. Julia, lastly, your contact details, your website and so on?
Absolutely. It's all very easy to find, www.thecircularstage.com, and all my contact details are on there, as well as an inquiry form. Otherwise, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always there and happy to connect. And yeah, feel free if you've got any questions or you're keen to find out more about some other fascinating topics on our Flourishing Friday podcast, then just drop us a line on all the eRadio comms channels, and we'll do our best to fulfill your desire for more interesting information and fascinating factoids.
That's it. I'm already looking forward to next week. Julia, thanks so much.
That's a pleasure. Thanks so much, Ian. Chat to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.